At a prestigious school, an ordinary teenage conflict turns into a high-profile court case when one student deliberately rips another's expensive designer jacket. The angry mother files a lawsuit demanding compensation not only for the damaged item, but also for moral damages and medical expenses. Emotions erupt in the courtroom, accusations of jealousy, lies, and disrespect. Was it an innocent mistake or an act of revenge? The court must decide where the line is drawn between childish pranks and responsibility for one's actions. Chapter 1. The Statement of Claim and the Essence of the Conflict. A Fulton County, Georgia, courtroom is filled with the hum of muffled conversations. Rows of wooden benches are gradually filled with people who came to watch the process. Some of them are random visitors who ended up here out of curiosity. Others are acquaintances of the parties to the process. At the front of the courtroom, at the plaintiff's table, sits Linda Harper, an elegant woman of 45. She radiates confidence, but a careful observer will notice a slight tension in her gaze. Beside her is her daughter Sophia, beautifully dressed, arms crossed, sitting straight, chin proudly raised. Her dark brown curls are neatly arranged, and the fire of indignation burns in her eyes. On the other side of the courtroom at the defendant's table are Karen Patterson and her daughter Emma. Karen looks much less confident, her face nervous, and her fingers occasionally clenching the pen. Emma, unlike Sophia, clearly avoids eye contact and nervously drums her fingers on the table. The bailiff approaches the lectern, knocks with a hammer, and pronounces, "I ask everyone to stand up." The Fulton County Circuit Court declares the hearing open. Presiding Judge Rebecca Thompson. The steward's voice rings out clearly, forcing everyone to fall silent. Judge Thompson is a woman in her 50s, with a penetrating eye that can assess the situation in the courtroom in a second. She sits down at the rostrum, taps with a hammer, and looks sternly at the audience. Harper v. Patterson is pending. Plaintiff Linda Harper brought a civil action against Karen Patterson for willful damage to the personal property of her daughter, Sophia Harper. "Are the parties ready for the hearing?" asks the judge, looking from one table to another. Linda Harper immediately straightens up. "Yes, Your Honor." Karen Patterson responds with a slight delay. "Yes, ready." The judge nods and turns to the plaintiff. "Miss Harper, please state your claims." Linda pauses for a moment, choosing her words, and then, clearly and confidently, begins. "Your Honor, this young lady," she nods in Emma's direction, "intentionally ruined my daughter's expensive $1,500 jacket. My daughter had to go home without outerwear, which led to her illness. As a result, she missed important school lessons and a trip to Washington, which cost us extra. I demand compensation for the jacket, medical treatment, and moral damages." Karen rolls her eyes as she says this, but doesn't interrupt. Emma just shrugs her shoulders slightly, as if she doesn't care about the story. The judge looks at Karen intently. "Miss Patterson, what can you say in return?" Karen coughs, gags a little, but still says, "Your Honor, my daughter did not want to spoil the jacket. She just wanted to, well, how should I put it, prove that this jacket wasn't real. Sophia constantly bragged that her boyfriend from Italy bought it for her, but we saw on the internet that such jackets should be durable. Emma just checked it out." Judge Thompson looks up sharply. "Does this justify damage to someone else's property?" Karen grips the handle even tighter, but remains silent. Sophia, who had been sitting silently until now, suddenly bursts out. "She was just jealous of me. She is always jealous. And when she realized that she could not afford the same jacket, she decided to spoil mine." Emma, who had been avoiding arguments until now, suddenly breaks down. "I was not jealous. You yourself bragged to everyone that a rich lover bought it for you, and it turned out that it was a lie." The judge sharply taps the gavel. "Enough. In this courtroom, I will not allow the hearing to turn into a bazaar. Everyone calm down." Her voice is sharp, and silence falls in the hall again. The judge looks at both sides, jots down something in his notes, and says, "Let's continue. First, let's hear the evidence. Miss Harper, do you have anything to back up your statement?" Linda smiles contentedly and pulls out a flash drive from her bag. "Yes, Your Honor." We have surveillance video in the school hallway. Everything is perfectly visible there. The judge nods, motioning for the steward to pass the recording to the technician. The atmosphere in the hall is tense. Everyone is waiting to see what happens next. Chapter 2. Beginning of the trial. As soon as the video starts, the courtroom goes completely silent. All eyes are fixed on the big screen, where the moment that caused the trial is broadcast from a surveillance camera. The video clearly shows a group of students in the locker room having a lively conversation. Sophia Harper demonstratively takes off her jacket while telling her friends something. Then the frame changes and Emma Patterson falls into the lens. She walks over to Sophia's jacket, takes it by the sleeve, tugs a little, and then pulls sharply. The sleeve remains in her hands. Emma's face shows surprise, but after a second she smiles and throws her jacket on the floor. Linda Harper can't hold back a satisfied smile. As you can see, Your Honor, it was not just a random burst of fabric. This was done on purpose, she emphasizes. Judge Thompson makes notes in his notebook. Defense, do you have anything to say about this record? She asks, turning her gaze to Karen Patterson. Karen rises nervously. Your Honor, my daughter may have acted recklessly, but she did not mean to damage the jacket. She just wanted to prove that Sophia was lying about her worth. She excuses herself, although her voice does not sound too convincing. Sophia, who has been holding back her emotions until now, can't stand it. This is simply absurd. What difference does a jacket cost? She was mine, and she ruined it. What kind of excuse is this anyway? The judge raises his hand to silence her. Enough. We will not stoop to children's quarrels. The facts speak for themselves. She shifts her gaze to Emma, who is all shrunk in her chair. Miss Patterson, do you realize there are consequences for destroying someone else's property? Emma sighs hesitantly, looking down. Yes, Your Honor, she muttered. Linda Harper takes the lead. That is why I demand full compensation for the jacket, medical expenses, and moral damage. Sophia was sick for a week and missed important school events. This should be taken into account. Karen gets up indignantly. This is already too much. I don't mind that the jacket was damaged, but Sophia could have caught a cold from anything. You can't prove that it happened precisely because of the lack of outerwear. Judge Thompson looks at both women intently, then turns his gaze back to his notes. Good. The court will take this into account. Now I want to hear the opinion of both girls. Sophia, tell me how everything happened from your point of view. Sophia straightens her back, inhales, and begins. I came to school as usual. The girls and I talked in the locker room. I showed off my new jacket because I really liked it, and it's true it's expensive. But I wasn't bragging, as Emma says. Then I went out, and when I came back, I saw that the jacket was lying on the floor, and its sleeve was torn off. And I know she did it. Sophia throws an indignant look at Emma. The judge nods and turns to the defendant. And now you, Miss Patterson. What really happened? Emma takes a deep breath, as if gathering her breath before answering. Chapter 3. Evidence and Testimony. Emma sighs hesitantly, lowers her shoulders, as if the weight of the whole process has fallen on her back, and, swallowing a little nervously, begins to say, Your Honor, I didn't want to spoil it. I really didn't mean to. I just wanted to prove that she was lying about her jacket. She told everyone all day how expensive she was, that she had been brought from Europe, that some rich man had bought her for her. I saw on the internet that a real jacket of this brand does not tear, even if it is cut with a knife or pulled with all its strength. So I just checked, and she broke. Judge Thompson raises his eyebrows slightly. Do you seriously think that checking the authenticity of the jacket is a sufficient reason for damaging it? Emma purses her lips and shakes her head. No, Your Honor. I just didn't think it would break so easily. Linda Harper snorts sarcastically, and Sophia lets out a loud sigh, rolling her eyes. Are you joking? Do you really want us to believe this stupid story? Sophia cannot hold back her emotions again. You can't even imagine what it's like to see someone deliberately destroy a thing that is dear to you. This is not just a jacket, it was a gift. The judge looks at her sternly. Miss Harper, I warned you. Be discreet. Sophia takes a deep breath and sits up straight, but her eyes still burn with indignation. "I'm sorry, Your Honor." Judge Thompson flips through his notes and turns to Karen Patterson. "Your daughter admitted that she pulled the jacket on purpose. Do you have something to say in defense?" Karen takes a deep breath, trying to find the words. "Your Honor, she didn't do it out of malice. They are just children. She didn't mean anything bad. She just wanted to prove herself right. I understand that the jacket was damaged, and we are willing to take responsibility, but seeking compensation for medical expenses and moral damages. This is already too much. How can it be proven that Sophia got sick because of this? Children are sick all the time." The judge nods and turns to Linda Harper's attorney. "Do you have evidence that Sophia's illness was caused by this incident?" Attorney Harper gets up and pulls out a few sheets of paper. "Yes, Your Honor. Here is the doctor's medical report, which states that Sophia came to him because of hypothermia. We also have a check for a private doctor's consultation. We believe that this fact is directly related to the situation." The judge accepts the documents and reviews them. There is tense silence in the hall. Then she raises her head. "Very good. The court takes this evidence into account. I now wish to hear the final arguments of the parties before I make a decision." Linda Harper immediately leans forward, preparing to speak. Chapter 4, Judgment and Consequences. Linda Harper stands up, straightening her shoulders. In her look, you can read confidence, but also a certain irritation. She tries to control her emotions, but every word that leaves her lips is laced with a sense of injustice. "Your Honor, it's not just about money. This is a question of responsibility. My daughter not only lost an expensive item, but also became the victim of an intentional act that caused her not only material, but also emotional damage. Emma ruined the jacket on purpose because she couldn't accept that Sophia had something she didn't. It was an act of envy and disrespect. If we close our eyes to this now, what will happen next? What will she do the next time she doesn't like something?" Karen Patterson, who had been sitting silently until now, suddenly stood up sharply. "This is absurd. Your Honor, my daughter is not a criminal. She did something stupid, but she's a teenager. They all do stupid things. Are we really going to judge children as if they were adults?" Judge Thompson pauses as he looks at both women. Then she puts her pen on the table and says in a calm but firm tone, "Thank you, Miss Harper, Miss Patterson." The court heard arguments from both sides. She looks over at Emma, who is sitting staring at her hands. "Miss Patterson, do you realize that your actions had consequences? That you did not just destroy a material thing, but also harmed a person, although not physically, but morally? Do you understand that in adult life, such actions would have to be answered much more seriously?" Emma, without looking up, quietly answers, "Yes, Your Honor." The judge nods as if accepting this answer. The court made a decision. Since the evidence of intentional damage to property is more than sufficient, the defendant is obliged to compensate the cost of the damaged jacket in the amount of $1,500. At the same time, the court cannot satisfy the demand for reimbursement of medical expenses in the amount $300 because the plaintiff did not provide sufficient evidence of a direct link between the incident and Sophia Harper's illness. Linda Harper pursed her lips, clearly unhappy with this decision, but remained silent. The judge continued. Regarding moral damage, according to the law, moral damage can be compensated only in case of violation of personal intangible rights. Damage to property is not a basis for such compensation, so the court rejects this claim. The courtroom froze for a few seconds. Sophia let out a frustrated sigh. Karen let out a sigh of relief, and Emma stared at the floor even more. The court session is over. "Case closed," Judge Thompson announced with a bang of her gavel. People begin to slowly get up. The hum of conversations fills the room. Linda Harper takes one last look at Karen. "I hope your daughter learned a lesson from this. Because if not, next time everything can end much worse." Karen didn't say anything, just took Emma's hand and quickly left the courtroom. Sophia shook her head. "Absurd. She just left without even apologizing." Linda touched her daughter's shoulder. The main thing is that justice has been served, even if not to the full extent. Behind the doors of the court, the world continued to live its life. But for all the participants in this process, it was no longer the same as before. And what do you think? Was the judge's verdict fair? Write your thoughts in the comments below the video. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next crazier thing.